welcome back to the Homestead Skill of the Month Club. Today we are kicking off our month 4, which is we're calling Introduction to Animals. We're going to talk about animal keeping, animal raising, our love of animals. And we're trying to keep it kind of general and make it so that different people in different situations can be involved or at least enjoy our offerings this month. Today what I'm doing is a Tuesday chat, and I want to get back to these good, long, chatty Tuesday chats where you can have your tea and your project, and we'll just show you a couple pictures, but we won't expect you to really focus too much on what you're seeing so you can get something done while we chat away. I'm sure a lot of you know who I'm sitting next to. This is Melanie Lynn of Road to the Farm, and instead of having her at my place, today I'm at her place. I had the opportunity to drive all the way over to the other side of Idaho, so we're still in the same state, but a different part of the state. And our kids are so happy together right now. It's like they don't even know we exist. So here we are in an upstairs bedroom, and we are going to talk today about all things chickens.
Yay! So chickens are they're my first love. They always will be.
Don't tell Jessie, okay? Don't get this information back to home.
I just love them. I can sit and watch them for hours. And I love how simple they are and how easy they are to care for. So you have so many benefits, but they're very low maintenance.
There's a pretty big step from taking care of chickens to taking care of other larger livestock. Mm-hmm. And there are other pretty easy animals. Probably rabbits are pretty easy. Certain ducks are pretty easy. But chickens, we're going to link below a great classic video by One Girl's Rant about how chickens are the gateway animal.
Yes, that video.
One Girl's Rant is that Misty is actually one of my favorite YouTubers. She doesn't post a lot, but we'll link up that old classic so you can get a good laugh out of it. But it's very real.
It is. It's really true.
Beware of how chickens will capture your heart and lead you into a homesteading adventure you never dreamed.
Yeah, a couple of backyard chickens will land you out in the country with a whole flock.
Right? A couple goats, move the goats into the house, move you out, you take the barn. Who knows what's going to happen?
Oh my gosh. It's so true. Yeah, and then chicken math.
Chicken math. Okay, so explain for those who don't know, what is chicken math?
Okay, so there is no math involved in chicken math. You bring home a couple chickens, and next thing you know, they start multiplying. They randomly hop into your grocery cart as you're picking up chicken feed, and the neighbors who have chickens, they needed a place to get rid of their baby chickens, and then you have more chickens.
And you just happen to say yes, even if you expressly said to your spouse or other significant other last night that you would never ever get any more chickens, then suddenly you just happen to have 6 more little baby chickens. How did that happen?
Yeah, we've never had chickens in the bathtub, and there has not ever been chickens in the garage or beside the fireplace, or there has in all of those places. Yeah, chickens are really fun, but they're simple if you get the basics right. That's the thing that's really important with chickens, is that you kind of get things set up ahead of time, and you know what you're doing, and you've done a little bit of research, and if you get those things right, then they just give and they give and they give.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to be having a more of a tutorial on how to keep chickens in a couple of days. And of course, Melanie already has some videos on chickens, and I already have some videos on chickens. So please, if you want to know the techniques or the skill of being able to care for chickens, stick around, because we'll have a lot more of that this week. Chicken stats with Melanie Lynn. Favorite chicken breed?
Buff Orpington.
Greatest number of chickens owned at what time?
About 65 chickens, which we also had ducks and geese too.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
Okay, longest living chicken?
About 3.5 years.
That's good. Favorite chicken?
Favorite chicken was our rooster baby, and he was just a doll. The kids could pick him up and carry him everywhere.
Greatest number of eggs collected in one day?
48.
48, you counted.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
How long have you kept chickens?
We have had them for the majority of the last 10 years. We had a little break in there when we moved to a city setting, and I couldn't stand it, and I got chickens in the city.
Are you allowed to have chickens in the city?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That really varies from place to place, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here in Idaho Falls, well, we were in a county town is what we were. We were like city. But in Idaho Falls, which is close to us, you can have 3 chickens.
Mm-hmm. And no rooster, right?
Yeah, no rooster. What good is 3 chickens? Although, like you said, they bring so much life, so I would move my 3 chickens if I had to. But.
Well, sure. I mean, 3 chickens is great if 3 chickens is what you have. Yeah. We actually were in the suburbs of Boise for a short time, staying with Nick's brother when we were making our transition from completely urban life in Boston to where we are now. And one of the neighbors had allowed 3 chickens, and they're super happy. You know, it's a great situation if that's what you've got. But because of chicken math and because of chickens being a gateway animal, it's also possible to become dissatisfied with your 3 allotted hens.
Well, especially when there's 7 of us to feed. 3 eggs don't go very far.
Exactly.
So that's the main thing.
Right. So tell me the story about moving your chickens.
Yeah, so because of our food allergies, you know, when you start chickens, it takes 5 months of feeding them and taking care of them before you get anything from them. Mm-hmm. So we'd gone through this whole process of making sure they had really good food and growing them up to be just what they were, and we had eggs coming in, and we knew that we were moving here with a really big pay cut. And so I said, my chickens are coming with me. I don't care how far we're moving, we are bringing the chickens with us. And so we had one of those hoop coops, and it's our kitty coop now, is what we call it. It's where we put our cat food and everything, and they have straw to keep them warm in the winter. So anyway, it's a hoop coop, and we bolted it down on a Harbor Freight trailer that was exactly the same. It was a 4x8. Okay. And so we looked like we were, you know, some kind of prairie covered wagon. And we pulled that behind this monster U-Haul truck all the way from Arizona all the way to Idaho. And what we did, because chickens will tend to climb on top of each other and smother each other if you're moving them for very long. You know, they just crowd all up and pile up. So we took dog crates, and they fit just perfectly in there, and we lined the entire thing with dog crates. And we had I think we had 2 to 3 chickens in each crate so that they couldn't smash each other. And we had half a watermelon in each crate, so that gave them food and water for the trip up here. And they did great. We didn't lose even 1 chicken.
And how many were you moving?
At that point, we moved 25 chickens. So it was really great. And then we got here, and they were so excited because they'd never seen grass or anything like that. And we just turned them loose, and they were scratching bugs, and they were so excited. And we had all the eggs that we needed, and it really took care of our family. So my husband was like, you know, this would be so much cheaper to get new chickens. And I was like, yeah, but that's 5 months. It's not really cheaper once you factor in the food and everything for that 5 months before you get eggs.
I wish you'd had a YouTube channel.
I know.
So that we could have the video of those chickens going on the highway.
I do have pictures. I'll send you pictures.
Okay, yes. We'll put in some pictures. Good deal. So let's say that somebody out there is thinking about getting chickens for the first time. Or, you know, we're not going to encourage this, but we do know that it happens. Someone has just brought home chickens for the first time. Yeah. What do you think they need to know?
So I think it's really important. Are we talking about chicks or chickens?
Let's do both.
Okay. So if you're bringing home chicks, there's one thing that I think is super important to know about, and I have a video on my channel about it, but it's called pasty butt. So it doesn't happen a whole lot, but it's fatal if you don't take care of it. And it's one of the easiest things in the world to take care of. So when their digestion is first getting started, they need grit. So put in a little bit of sand or grit, or, you know, just go out and scoop some dirt and put that in a little tray. Either mix it in with their food or give it to them so that they can nibble on that because they don't have teeth. So it's really important that they have that grit to break down their food. And I've also heard that putting some apple cider vinegar in their water really helps with that too. But what pasty butt is where instead of coming out in a nice fully formed poop, it just kind of slides out and it gets stuck to their feathers. And if it gets stuck too much to their feathers, it can build up and it can block their vent. And then all of that poop will back up inside of them and it can't get out, and they will basically poison themselves and die. And it happens very quickly. And it's such an easy fix. You just take a warm cloth that's wet and just wipe that off. Don't ever pull it off though, because you can actually pull their insides out of them by doing that. So just gently wipe them off and send them on their way, and they'll be happy. So.
Yes, we have had some pasty butt encounters with our chicks as well. I think it's most likely to happen, is it within the first 10 days?
Yeah, and really within the first 3 days more than anything. And it will be more likely to happen under a heat lamp than otherwise, because it'll dry so fast on, they won't have a chance to get it wiped off onto anything. So,
So there you go. Hopefully we can save a baby chicken's life.
Yeah.
With that knowledge. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
So what if somebody's getting grown-up hens? Any things you think they should know?
Well, if you have hens already and chicken math just happened, it's really important to keep them separated for a little bit. So what we do is we take a crate and we'll put them on the outside of the fence, but with the crate up against the fence, so they can get to know each other, because they're going to have to reestablish their whole pecking order by introducing chickens. And you talked a little bit about pecking order. It can get a little crazy sometimes as they're establishing that, and they'll go at each other and fight. And it's rare that it's actually a problem, but it can be kind of alarming if you don't know what's going on the first time that you see it. So set that crate there and make sure there's shade over it so that they don't get sun-baked, and make sure they have water and everything. But let them introduce each other for a day or two. And then you can go ahead and bring them inside the crate. And within half a day or so, then you can open it up and they'll all mingle, and they'll reincorporate pretty well. And if you are bringing home chickens for the first time that are full grown and you don't have a flock to introduce them to, then just make sure that they have the basics. Make sure there's shade. Make sure they can get out of the rain. The draft is what is harder for chickens than anything. They can withstand crazy temperatures. They do great in very hot temperatures. They do great in very cold temperatures. But it's that draft in the cold that is a real big problem. And then in the heat, they have to have a lot of water. So make sure you watch out for those two things.
Let's talk about favorite chickens.
Oh, favorite chickens. Our most favorite chicken was actually a rooster that we lost last year, and the kids called him Baby. And he was such a funny little rooster. He was kind of a little bit of a slow growing runt, and he didn't develop a tail or grow his tail feathers for a really, really long time. He looked kind of naked and strange. But then when it did finally come in, it was a couple months after all the other roosters, it came in so full and beautiful. And he was a barred rock crossed with something, and I don't know what it is. But my favorite chickens are always a crossbreed. I find that they're really mellow and that the kids can handle them. They go pick them up. And their temperament is really different than, a real purebred chicken.
That's interesting. A lot of people have... Okay.
I think it's a trailer or something somebody's got outside.
A lot of people have already heard about my favorite chicken, my chicken named Leia. We have a white chicken named Leia, and that is spelled like Princess Leia, although, yes, of course, also the joke that she's our Queen Leia. She used to be the dominant hen, and hens have a pretty strict, you've heard the phrase pecking order. And when I first got chickens, that actually was something that I really had to learn to understand. Chickens are people too, except they're not. And you can't expect them to behave like people. Yep. So Leia she was the dominant hen, and if anybody came, was too uppity with her, she would freely peck at them. But she's no longer the dominant hen because other young ones have moved up. But she's still my freedom hen. We had her in the goat pen for a long time. And although at that point we had about 11, 12 hens in the goat pen, she was the only one who hopped the fence, but she hopped it every day. And we didn't mind so much because although we do have predator pressures at our place, we have the dog out, and at that point we weren't too concerned about her. She always went back into the barn where she was safe at night. And I called her my freedom hen because she's the only one who figured out how low that fence was.
That's cute. I have a couple that even with our 5.5-foot high fence, they'll still get out during the spring. They just love to go. Yep.
And of course you can clip wings. I mean, there are things that you can do if you need to keep your chickens contained, but for at least for me, where I have a little bit of room to roam, I cheer for my Leia.
Yeah.
Good for you, girl. You get out there. You get some good grubs in that soil. You go for it.
Well, this time of year, we actually turn our chickens loose. I didn't clean up my garden at all in the fall. I left everything as it was, and they have come through and they've scratched and turned over everything. I don't have hardly a scrap of a plant out there anymore. They've just ground it all up, and they've turned over the dirt, and they've pulled all the bugs out. So from now until we put seedlings in, I let them just get in there and ferociously tear after all of that stuff and till it for me, and they are such good workers. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and I may be a couple weeks behind her by snow, although Melanie is in a actually cooler zone than me. I'm on a north-facing hillside, and I had a lot of snowpack this year, so I still have snow in my garden. But as soon as that snow is gone, I still have leaf bags that I didn't spread out last fall. So I will put out the leaves and I will put out the chickens, and it'll be the same idea.
Yeah, they did. Oh, and they get so excited when you throw something like that down. They just can't wait to get in there and ruffle it all up. And
it's so healthy for them. I mean, you don't want your chickens to be bored any more than you want your children to be bored. It's good to give them work to do. They're working animals.
They are. Yeah, they're such a huge part of what we do here on the homestead because I do have to keep them pinned up for most of the year because we are in more of an urban setting, and we do have cars and there are dogs and different things like that. And plus, if I don't have a big enough fence that I can let them out and not have my garden just be decimated by them. So we let them out right now and then pin them up, but we put down a big heavy layer of straw so that they have that to dig through, and that we throw all of our food scraps in there, and so they compost for us. And then all of that manure drops down on the straw and whatever they didn't eat, and it breaks down. And we actually have a gorgeous layer of compost that we pull out of there and put on the garden every year. So I have people all the time that ask me, well, are chickens really worth the cost? And I say, well, that's kind of a hard thing to just say, okay, well, I spend this much on feed and I spend that much on eggs, or, I get this many eggs, and so it comes out to that much per dozen. For us, we're able to control what we feed them. And so I actually thought that I was allergic to eggs, but it turns out I was allergic to what was being fed to the chickens. So I'm able to eat eggs because of the way that we control what they eat. And then we get just amazing, gorgeous eggs. You saw the yolks in that one in our cooking video that we're going to do together. And they're just so rich and so full of nutrition, so they're healthy for us. But then we get the fertilizer, we get the compost, and then we get the labor where they go and turn over our garden. So it's really hard to quantify exactly what you're getting with a chicken.
And some people will also have to count in the joy that you get from chicken watching.
Yeah.
And there definitely are different phases for this. My chickens were very important to me when I first moved out to the woods. I'm going to sound like the crazy chicken lady here.
We're all the crazy chicken ladies.
But when we first moved out to the woods, we brought the chickens right away. That was one of the first things that so the yurt that we moved into and the outhouse and the chicken coop were all built off-site. So we kind of assembled what Nick called our jump shelter setup in the woods, kind of all at once. And so we had chickens, and when I had a place to be, and they literally kept me company. Gave me a sense of relationship and a pattern to the day too. Because at least where we are, it's really not okay to leave the door open at night. You really can't leave those chickens exposed at night. We have a dog who is helpful, but she's not a livestock guardian dog. That's something that we hope for the future. Our dog is helpful, but she's probably not going to be able to catch that predator that wants to come in at night. So I have to shut up the coop at night and open it in the morning, and that is a rhythm. And I found that to be as beneficial almost as the eggs that they're giving me, that sense of relationship and responsibility for my food source.
And especially for those of us that get so locked down in the winter. You still have to take care of your animals. And it really, I know that in the winter, if I don't have something to take care of, then I start to shut down. So having the kids to take care of, having the chickens to take care of, like you said, it gives you that rhythm, but it also is, it just really nourishes your own soul to go out there and you see life. There's nothing but desolation and white and stark everywhere around, and then you go in there and they're scratching at the straw on the floor and they're just still happy, and it feels like they really do give back in so many ways.
And things are simple for chickens.
Yep.
I hate to overstate the obvious here, but when we talk about the simple life, there are things to be learned from chickens.
Yep.
They're very, very simple non-minds of the chicken.
It's never easy.
So here's the dark side to chickens. We've said how cute they are and how sweet they are, and we can show you pictures of our kids holding them, and they're relatively easy to take care of, and they will work in your garden, and they give you eggs, and they give you a pattern to your life, and there's nothing at all. There's no rain cloud in sight, except chickens do get old. And we certainly do know people who will keep the chickens to their longest possible life. I do actually have a vegan friend who has one chicken who works her garden, and then they give the eggs to their son who for a little protein for him since he's young and growing, and that's just the choice that their family has made. But they certainly wouldn't cull their chicken when she stops laying. And that's a choice that I think is great if that's the choice that you're making. And then also Melanie and I have in common that we rely on meat for a part of our nutrition. And that's a part of what homesteading in our particular climate how that makes sense for us. But either way, whether you're going to have that as ethically produced meat, or whether you're going to take care of that chicken as long as you possibly can, they will not live as long as you do, and that can be heartbreaking.
Yeah. And there are predator issues, or we have lost a lot of chickens. We lost one to frostbite, and it was a rooster, and he got too close to the draft. There was one spot within our coop, and he got too close to that draft, and he got really bad frostbite on his legs, and so we had to put him down, and oh gosh, it tore us to bits.
We just did that
really
this
hard.
year.
Yeah.
Actually, we had a rooster that we probably shouldn't have had. We held over one of our meat birds. So we do raise birds that are particularly for meat, and that has been a lot of our diet for the few years that we've been homesteading. And we held over one of our roosters in hopes that he could be, that we could breed him for more meat birds. But we had the worst winter ever this year, and he also had frostbite, and the kids called him Big Red. And they liked him because he was really sweet. He's kind of gigantic, had beautiful feathers, and was kind of dumb. And our buff Orpington rooster is quick and not kind. I mean, he's not dangerous, or we would definitely not have him around the kids, but he's not cuddly.
Yeah.
But they loved Big Red, and he got frostbite, and that was the end.
Yeah, it can happen. And, even if you do all the things that are right, you're going to lose chickens. It's just going to happen. And it's just a fact of keeping animals. There's things that you can't control, and you're going to lose animals. And it's heartbreaking, but you have to, it's something that the kids struggled with a whole lot for quite a while. But it was really important to me that they understand in life there's life and death. And there are cycles. And that's just part of the world that we live in. And, whether you're religious or not, for me, it's something where I say, there always has to be some death to bring new life. And there are cycles in the world. And it reminds us of our, just immortality here on the earth. And it helps you stay focused on what's important, because you don't know if it's going to be there tomorrow. And I know that's really deep for chickens, but it's really true. I didn't want them to be so sheltered that when they grew up and left home, if something died on them, that they crumbled and completely came unglued because they'd never faced death before. So that, it's hard.
I think that's so wise. I'm going to retitle this video, Everything I Ever Needed to Know I Learned from Chickens. No, but seriously.
There's so much. There's so much you can learn from them.
And it's interesting to have this animal month coming after the gardening month, because I talked about needing to take risks in actually both cooking and gardening. We've talked about needing to take risks, needing to get out there and face the possibility of failure. Well, when you're dealing with animals, the stakes are getting higher and higher. And so as you're judging risks, I certainly am not encouraging people to bring home an animal unless you really know how to take care of it. And that's completely true of chickens as well as the larger animals, which may require even more of a skill set. And yet at the same time, even when you are prepared, even when you do have the knowledge, when you do have that mentorship that you're going to need, you're still taking on a risk. And yet Melanie and I think are here to tell you that, at least for us, it's worth it. It puts us out there in the world with these other creatures. We take care of them, they take care of us, and we're not so sheltered, we're not so blind to kind of the realities of what it takes to stay alive.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
What about babies? You've hatched baby chickens. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So we've hatched them a few different ways, but we've never incubated them. I really like to let my mama hens be mama hens.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I guess it's the mother's heart in me that when they get all broody, I just love to give them that space. And I actually had a turkey that got super duper broody, but we didn't have a tom. So she was just a basket case. She would, she kept collecting her eggs, and she just wouldn't give it up no matter what we did. And so my mama's heart just couldn't handle it. And we shoved 4 fertile chicken eggs underneath her, and it was the cutest thing ever. She cared for those, and she hatched out all 4 of them perfectly. I've never seen a mom that dotes on babies like she did. And since she was so big, they would all climb up on top of her and sleep on her, even when they were like 3 months old.
Oh my gosh!
It was so precious.
Story.
Yeah. And then, so we still have the turkey, and we still have 3 of her babies. There was one rooster that got really mean, and he turned into soup. But we still have one of the roosters, and he's fabulous. And then we have 2 hens, and they still sleep next to the turkey every single night. It's so precious.
So sweet.
So yeah, I love hatching babies.
Well, folks, we're going to close it here, but thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the Skill of the Month Club, and for sharing time with me and Melanie. We always appreciate that you're here with us. There will be some more videos about chickens this week, and then we're also going to talk about some other livestock animals over the course of the month. So I hope that you will join us for that. We've got all sorts of links that we talked about today that we'll try and make sure in the description box below, so you can check out the things we've talked about. And do feel free to share your favorite chicken stories with us as well in the comments. We'd love to hear, being the crazy chicken ladies that we are. So thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Is it a turkey?
Hey, look! That chicken!